give a lecture and try to bring in some new insights because it's, as mentioned, and it's a faculty development program, which again means it's not something to uh, teach as such over here because we all are from the field of teaching and we have chosen our profession as teaching, and we are the educators of the society. So over here, it should be more of deliberations, discussions, and my point of view matching with yours, or if there is any kind of difference in opinions, so we can share because eventually it is for the future of our students and our nation. So before I begin, I would just begin sharing my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay. Now I cannot see any of the participants, and directly it's my screen, which is there right in front. So I would appreciate if we can have some kind of sharing before we begin, so that uh, later on when we are discussing, we can come up with few questions and then eventually come with solutions, so that this FDP, which is from the 8th till the 13th, really comes and makes some kind of sense. The topic which I have been given is Indian knowledge system, language and literature. And prior to this, we had introduction to Indian knowledge system. Then we had science and technology, which was dealt with. Then we have architecture. And yesterday I joined in between, and I was listening to one professor speaking on mathematics. And now comes the onus on me, where I have to speak and discuss about the significance of language and literature. Even though I belong to the Department of English, uh, dealing so much in English, but then language and literature, how prominent, or how is it that we can try to make the best of it? This is what is to be discussed today. So I would just like to ask each and everyone, it will be better instead of typing in the chat box, if you could give responses to me, that when we were little, or maybe when I also was little and I started going to school, or maybe when I learned to speak, what was the first nursery rhyme is it that we learned, or heard and we recited? Can you just share with me? What was the nursery rhyme? If anyone also, one person also speaks, it will be quite interactive. What was the nursery rhyme that we learned speaking or
Twinkle,
reciting?
twinkle, little star.
Yeah, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Okay. And if I remember, most of the time, because I was in a boarding and all of it, so whenever it used to rain, we used to always say, rain, rain, go away, come again another day, and little Johnny wants to play, or whatever the name was. So then, can we really understand, even though we are staying in India, and where, if I try to connect it with the nursery rhyme that I am talking about, we are trying to talk about the rain to go away. But in India, as we know, the 85% of our heritage or our occupation is due to farming, and all our farmers, and even today, we depend on rain. So how is it that this nursery rhyme, which depicts and tells us "rain, rain, go away," becomes the song or the recitation or the rhyme of a small child? So from that's the point that the difference or the education begins. Are we as parents, are we as mentors, are we as teachers actually dealing and trying to bring in the Indian culture, the Indian heritage, the things that are happening around? On the other hand, we listen to songs like Barso Re Megha and Ghanan Ghanan Badira, that song which was in the movie Lagan. So when you listen to these songs, then you have that kind of Indianness and that feeling that we have. Each one of us over here. Once again, a question to all of you. Can you tell me from which subjects is it that you all are? Is it only English, or are we having diverse faculty members over here? Dr. Padma, if you could just let me know, like the participants over here, are they from only one particular field, or they are from hybrid and a mixed batch? Okay. So somewhere I feel that there is a variety and there is a difference. All of us, maybe we belong to a particular subject, but we have our own languages. So it's a food for thought for all of us. Which state do we belong to? Which language do we speak? And what subject do we teach? Are we in our own way, whenever we go for a class, whenever we teach our children, whenever we mentor our students, or whenever we are moving around in society, are we trying to reflect the Indianness? If we are doing that, then automatically we are developing the Indian language and the culture and the literature that is around us. Because in in contrast to the other subjects which have been dealt, that is science and technology, architecture, mathematics, all of this is communicated through the form of a language, and whatever you speak or whatever you try to prophesize, that is literature. So somewhere or the other, we need to realize that yes, uh, the way we reflect, the way we speak is called as uh, the enhancement of it. Now we need to understand the scope and the definition of Indian knowledge system when it comes to language and literature. So we all very well know that what does it do when we are studying about Indian knowledge system in context of language and literature. It helps us. What is the scope of it? It helps us to move further. It helps us to serve contemporary and societal issues, because we know that the Indian knowledge system, it is based on Vedic literature, the Vedas and the Upanishads. So somewhere or the other, what are we trying to do is we are trying to align our present knowledge with the knowledge of the past, and the scope of it comes only when we try to put it attune and we try to put it parallel to whatever we are studying. Now, my next question to all of you is, what is it that you find common in all these people? We have Rabindranath Tagore, we have Madame Montessori, we have Leela Patel, Baba Amte, Bankar Roy, and this is just not the end of the list. All these peoples have been these people have been playing a significant role, and they are known as the educators in their respective fields. Like, say, for example, Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was the person who had been given the recognition, and the national anthem that we sing, it is because of his contribution, because he belongs from West Bengal, but he was the one who was so famous, and he got the recognition and received the Nobel Prize from the British from whom we were ruled. Indianness was so dominant that when the British wanted to deal with the English language, they wanted the educated class to do their work, the Indians. So it was through Bengal that they came in, and they started bringing about the aspect of English language over here. Then we know Madam Montessori. You might be using this term that our child goes to Montessori school. Montessori means what? Montessori means the action or the idea where a child is constantly asked to learn by the rote method, learn by the method of repeating. Then we have Leela Patel, we have Baba Amte. Baba Amte, again, he is a social activist. Bankar Roy, like for example, if you know about Baba Amte, initially when he was young, he was the kind of person who used to be going and doing watching movies. He used to watch movies of Bollywood, he used to watch movies of Hollywood, and he used to be giving reviews of each and every movie. And he was a different kind of a person. But gradually there was a change in his life. So the purpose of me trying to discuss about all these people are that they are educators, and so are we. So whatever we do, irrespective of whatever kind of life we are dealing with, irrespective of whatever style that we follow, we can always, as educators, the role models of the nation, give some kind of insights to the students. And for our own benefit, also, we can educate ourselves. Now, uh, Indian knowledge system and new education policy, they all go hand in hand. The purpose of it is that you might have noticed that now when we talk about the new education policy, we see that it talks about what? It talks about the enhancement of language, vocabulary, dictionary, online portals, web and wiki, scholarships and incentives. So what does it do? The promotion of Indian languages, how the new system, the new education policy is trying to promote all of this. It is giving us platforms. We might have noticed that nowadays there is this NPTEL courses. We have this Swayam platform, which gives us this opportunity to enhance all of this on our own pace method. Then there is this curriculum which talks about the 4-year B.Ed program. I'm just giving an example. You can see the bilingual programs of higher education, tourism and bilingual learning. It is not only one language. It is not only our language that we speak, but there should be reflection about our Indianness. Then it talks about tourism. It talks about translation and interpretation. So now again, translation also is something which is so important, which will help us not only keep up to our own native language or our own culture, but it will also tell us to uh, or depict. Like say, for example, even though I'm a Christian, if I belong to Rajasthan or if I belong to another place, if I am able to speak about the place where I belong, the origin of it, the history of it, so automatically I will be promoting and preserving and enhancing my Indianness in whatever I do. Now, the impact of the new education policy in promotion of Indian languages, or you can say the multilingual education, arts, and culture. Over here, we can see that it's giving us the it's paving our way for the enhancement of artists. We are getting a chance to go and find out the culture of these people who actually belong to the roots of their nation. There are so many people who are being promoted, who are being given identity now. Nowadays, there are so many research projects which tell us to do this. Then there are many courses which are there in this Indian indigenous knowledge systems. Then we have student tours that have to be organized, which is the Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat Abhiyan. Then the vocational education since the early ages. And then this constant push that is there for us to research and innovate our thinking. So all these things are something which is initiative by the government for us, not only as teachers, but also be promoting our students to get into all of this. And if this does not happen even at this level, then somewhere or the other, we are compromising on the knowledge system that we have. So now, eventually, while we do this, we can always tell our students that it will help us in providing and promoting job opportunities, encouraging entrepreneurs into new areas. If something has been forgotten of the past, this can again be re-imbibed or refurbished, creating people with sound values and understanding of humanity. Now, there was this concept which came up some time back, which was called as value education. I believe in all the colleges, value education was something which is to be a part of the curriculum. But we as teachers, we ourselves know that even though there was a period that was totally allotted for the classes, what we used to do is we used to divide our entire annual curriculum, and we used to keep topics. We used to go for the sessions. Say, for example, if it is happening in a particular college, we are talking about national integration and we are talking about, say, the national flag. Please go post a flag, and that's the end of it. No, value education, value system comes more. When you meet your students, do you greet them? Do you say hi, hello, or do you say namaskar? Or when you are greeting, do you try to keep up that culture? That is something. Gradually, that value system which was there, there are so many traditions, there are so many things that are happening around. Are we still carrying on this culture, or we are becoming westernized? Is the question. We always keep on complaining and we say that our days were such as teachers that when we used to go, there was so much of Indianness. But then, somewhere or the other, are we able to give them an insight and idea of what was the past, how things happened from our end, how much are we giving? Because somewhere or the other, things will keep on moving ahead. But it is we as human beings who know the sensitivity of the things. So, are we carrying this forward with our students? Are we doing it with the people around us? Is the question that I would like to ask. Now, uh, the key features of Indian culture, if you go to see, how do we come to know about the Indian literature? It the literature can be known through the diversity of language, Sanskrit, Prakrit, Dravidian, and the Indo-Aryan culture, shown through the languages, the genres of epic, poetry, drama, prose. In literature, when you study literature, you are either dealing with an epic, you're either dealing with a poetry, drama, or prose. So all these things like epic, the Mahabharat, the Ramayana. Beyond that, also we have the Vedas, like you have the Rig Ved, you have all the four Veds. So, are we able to connect it? Are we trying to bring in those things? Do we discuss it? Like when we were as students, were we understanding it in the same way? And is the present generation being uh, informed and educated in the similar manner? Is something which we need to focus about. Themes, the theme of mythology, philosophy, morality, the social critique. There are so many novels. Like, say, for example, if you talk about the novels which were written by R.K. Narayan, the novels or the text written by Mulk Raj Anand, all of them, they used to speak so much about society. So is this thing being carried out when we compose? Do we have this sensitivity? Do we have this element which depicts our culture? Is something that should be kept in mind. Now, uh, whenever you are taking any kind of a text, be it a movie, be it any kind of thing, be it any subject, are we able to give it an approach, or are we able to do it based on our Indianness? Are we able to apply it to the bhavas, or you can say the alankar, the ras? We have the different examples of it. Are we trying to give a parallel to it? Are we trying to talk about the navras that we have, the emotion of it? Or are we getting westernized? Is again the question that we are asking. So now I'll just give you a quick overview and try to tell you about the Indian literary tradition. The Indian literary tradition is the oldest in the world. If you go to see, like other cultures, the Indian literary culture is one of the oldest, and the earliest works were composed. They were not in the written form. Like, say, for example, if you talk about the languages, there were around 1576 languages, out of which there were only scripts of few, but majority of them were through the oral method. So the beauty of our culture lies through the oral narratives, the oral tradition. So are we also passing out this Indianness of ours through the means of our um, oral traditions? Are we through the use of the word of mouth? Are we doing it? Is something that we need to introspect upon. Now, moving to the first, that is Sanskrit literature. Sanskrit literature is something which has been constant, and all of us have, at one point or the other, have studied Sanskrit. So, have we done it just to pass, just to clear, and just to be the end of it? No. If we have done it, have we imbibed it in our life? Like, for example, if my first language, which I speak, is English, or I speak Hindi, but do I still remember Asuto ma sadgame, tamso ma jyotirgame, mrityur ma amritangame? Do we follow that philosophy in our life? India again is a country which is having 22 official languages and a huge variety of vernacular form or dialects that is practiced. And the Hindu literary traditions, they dominate a large part of Indian culture. And like I told you some time back, that we have this Vedas, and then presently also we are making use of the Vastu whenever we are trying to look into directions. Then we have the uh, Vedas like the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sam Veda, the Athar Veda. So, are we also dividing our lives, and do we also follow that kind of practice, or we are into a totally, which is called as the Gen Z culture, only trying to promote and deal with it? So, somewhere or the other, if we try to create a balance and try to bring about things from our roots, there'll be a vast difference, is something which is always hoped for. Then we have these epics which we deal with, Ramayana and Mahabharata. They are just not some things and so many versions of it just for the sake of it. They are classics. They are something which have their relevance even in the present. So, are we trying to bring it through our culture into this present scenario? Then, apart from the Vedas, uh, Chanakya, uh, we take him as a role model of economics. So, other than him, are we also trying to speak about other people? Not only speaking about Chanakya, can we, when we go for economics classes, can we go and give more information about other literary figures, about other people who are much more established? Is something that is that we need to work upon. And then you can understand even not only Sanskrit literature, Tamil literature. Tamil literature is something which is 2000 years, almost it is having a background of 2000 years to it. So almost just like how Jesus Christ has his origin, Tamil literature also is so old. And another popular literature which is spanning, particularly known for its poetic nature, are we trying to preserve it and trying to reflect it in our curriculums? How much percentage of Indianness do we depict when we are dealing with our respective subjects is something that we need to ask. Uh, then moving ahead with famous works like Meghdut by Kalidasa, Abhigyan Shakuntalam. Then we have literature like this Ratnavali and the Swapna Vadatam by Bhasha. All of these, Chanakya's Arthashastra and Vatsana's Kama Sutra. All of these are literatures which should be made a must. Based on all of these, should be readily available in the libraries that we have. And even though the students will make use of the AI tools, which is recently trending, but somewhere or the other, we should have in our curriculum these reflections where they can try to connect those theories and apply it. So, again, the first thing what I have dealt with over here is talking about Sanskrit literature and even talking about the Tamil literature. Then, when you move ahead, you will see that these famous figures of Hinduism, like you see in the northern part, the tales of Rama, the tales of Krishna, all of them, they have some kind of a approach which is applicable to the scenario. So that's sensitizing. Over here, we can see that the most famous works of the Indian literature can be traced in the vernacular languages of the northern Indian cults of Krishna and Rama, also included by the 12th century poets. Like we saw poets like Jayadev, we saw the Gita Govind. All of this, it is recited and it is used in like in the eastern side over there. Maithili is the language which is used. Or are we all moving towards only English language or to the foreign languages? So somewhere or the other, we need to keep up to our culture is something which is the pressing need for all of us. And then uh, we can again see that revival and preservation efforts constantly, if we are not motivated, if we do not keep on reviving, we will not be able to preserve it. So somewhere or the other, these awards and recognitions, these manuscripts, all these things, if they are brought in front of the students whenever we have some uh, field tour, whenever we have some activities, if the students can be given an exposure, not just ending up in a picnic or just going to a natural reservoir and just spending time over there, if a guide can show them the historic uh, places and their origin, automatically somewhere we will have this hope of the Indian knowledge system to be still progressing. Now, uh, the relevance. Now we have heard a lot about many writers like Shobha De, Jhumpa Lahiri. We have Shashi Tharoor. These people, they are not known only for their English, but they are known for their impact of English depicting the Indian culture. So somewhere or the other, when we are trying to depict our culture, we should also have our students not ending up in slangs or using this quick WhatsApp language and trying to depict their culture. Somewhere or the other, they need to be sensitized. Nowadays, we have this online platforms. Nowadays, we have this digital platform which can be used, and they can be actually given this motivation to preserve their culture. Then we have Kabir Das, we have Tulsi Das, we have learned their sayings, we have learned all they had to say, and all of them had some didactic information which was given. So these things should be of our culture, be it Sanskrit, be it Hindi, be it English, whichever form is applicable, but that preservation, or like for example in our homes, when we fall ill, are we only referring to allopathic, or do we try to look in for something which is more of Ayurvedic and which is healing us in a longer run? Is again the kind of practical approach to dealing with Indianness. So this is something which I constantly keep on repeating whenever our students are reading. Like say, for example, when we study Hindi literature, we have Munshi Premchand's famous stories. Then we have many other writers like Maithili Sharan Gupt, Jai Shankar Prasad, Sumitra Nandan Pant, Mahadevi Verma, and I always remember Subhadra Kumari Chauhan's Kadam Ka Ped. So these things, now earlier when we were young, we used to have this recitation, we used to have these things as a practice where we used to remember and we could imagine. But is the same thing happening nowadays? Is something that needs to be introspected and understood and to be carried forward. And that's the reason why even the government is trying to put in this in the form of a education policy. Then you have this time when the British era came in, and we saw that the revolution occurred with the influence of Western thought. So somewhere or the other, when Sanskrit literature was going on, when Hindi literature was going on, then came in the British, and they tried to put in their Western thought on us. And then there was this constant use of literature and expression, and then came in this printing press. But then, as Indians, what happened is we got an awakening. We started writing our kind of literature, fighting for independence. So it does not mean that westernization is coming in, so we get influenced. It is up to us how much we want to retain it. And so over here, even the coming of the British could be taken as a boon to a certain level where these things were happening. And then we can see Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he started with this campaign for the introduction of scientific education in India, and Swami Vivekananda's work are considered to be examples of English literature in India. So, somewhere or the other, we are the ones against all odds who can promote and bring in this. Then we have Vivekananda. He went to Chicago. He began his speech. He addressed a huge gathering and he created his impact. That's the reason why still this Hare Rama, Hare Krishna still resounds, still echoes, even in the Western places, because we have that kind of impact. So we should always be promoting and preserving it. Then we can see then over the past 150 years, we have again to repeat Rabindranath Tagore, who formulated his writings, and then he even received the Nobel Prize for Literature. Then we have so many other people. And then finally, coming to my subject, that is English literature, we have so many writers like R.K. Narayan, then we have Arundhati Roy, Anita Desai. Then we have Sri Aurobindo, Sarojini Naidu, Kamla Markandeya, Khushwant Singh, Nayantara. All these, Nayantara Sehgal, all these people are the preservers. But then again, does the onus lie only in the hands of these people? Is the context or the question for all of us? In the present times also we can see so many famous people like Shobha Day, Arundhati Roy, all of them, they are trying to preserve their culture. So this is again one question that we need to ask ourselves. So now before I actually try to conclude, there are almost 10 points that I would like to bring to your notice. You can make a note of it, and these are the places where you can, in your respective area, in your respective subject, you as a parent, as a mentor, as a human being, the historical manuscripts, do not let your culture go away. Let Sanskrit, Tamil, Prakrit, all of this still reflect. Let your child, let your student at least get the taste of it. Even for once, also they'll remember you. Yeah, that this is something which we would have not ever got a chance. The traditional works, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, there should be some kind of a connection. Let them read at least one part of it, if not all, and try to tell them to write an essay, or maybe ask them to try to connect it with the present scenario. Any one particular deal. Now, I'll take one example for English literature again. Say, for example, when we study the Mahabharata, and we have this character of Draupadi. And Mahashmita Devi, when she writes another novel, she has made use of this character of Draupadi. And somewhere or the other, even though she talks about the present situation, she is bringing in the past. She's talking about the epic. She's trying to draw a contrast, and that's the way our students of literature, they get an idea to compare and understand, is it still holding relevance, that epic which was written so many years back, and the present situation of women, is it still the same? So you also have to give that brainstorming drive to the students to understand. Then coming to the traditional artworks, like I told you, you have to do that. Then you have these renowned figures of Kalidasa, Rabindranath Tagore, Mirabai. Is that thing holding relevance today? Is something which we should be re-emphasizing and asking them, does that sensitivity still be there? Then you have uh, there are so many Indian scripts that are being used. So can that also be made in use? Is something that we have to understand, like Devanagari, Tamil, Bengal, all these Indian writings. Then coming to the regional cultural symbols, like say for example, representing cultural symbols of different regions. Uh, Again, giving my experience, I have been traveling to a lot of places. So I know the culture of Rajasthan. Whenever it is, say for example, it is their feast. So they have a way, and there is a culture. Their food, their dressing up, it's altogether different. So at times you can even give an assignment, give a task, and try to tell the students to write down their journey of life to the at least four places they have visited. What is the similarity? How Indian is it? And what is the difference if they have gone for a foreign tour and if they are in India? What is the difference do they find? Is that uh, Atiti Devo Bhava? Is that feeling even there abroad is something which can be asked? Then coming to uh, our culture in the form of dance, the Bharatnatyam, Kathakali, Odissi, all these dances. I am very well sure, especially when it comes to dance, we always want our children to learn classical dance. We send them for classes. But is it just only for their extracurricular, or is it for preserving the culture and some kind of art form that your child learns is something that we need to think about. Then coming to our libraries, like I told you, all these texts, be it of whatever subject you feel and hold of relevance, the students should be given one task, one assignment, one teaching pedagogy of yours should be including all of this. You or I, all of us should conduct literary festivals. Like in our college, we have this ethnic day where you can see the hybridity of each state, each culture which is depicted, which again gives the platform for plethora of students to come and show what they do. Then again, you can have talks by various authors. We have modern Indian authors. We can have uh, maybe book reviews. Maybe we can have some book release. We can promote students to write research papers. Last but not the least, something which the students they always love is uh, to have activities which are outside the institution. So somewhere or the other, when we get together, if we can reflect that, is something which can always be incorporated by all of us. So somewhere or the other, I feel that the major role when it comes to Indian knowledge system, any subject, we as teachers still have a lot in our hands, and we are the ones who can preserve, promote, and prepare this need of Indian knowledge system amongst us. And that's how I would just like to sum up, because it's a huge topic, and it's not the point where we can be putting everything in our syllabus and trying to say that the topic is covered, or we keep just one seminar or just one conference and say that yes, we are imbibing in that. What I have tried to show is through my subjects and through the literature that we deal with, that we can promote it and keep on informing our students. So that's all from my side.